After 7 years of marriage, Liam finally asked for a divorce because of the mistress he was supporting outside. He said, "Emily, she's different from other girls. She's followed me honestly." I nodded silently, struggling to suppress the overwhelming emotions inside, me fearing they might show. God knows how close I was to breaking down. If he didn't bring up the divorce soon, I might not be able to hold it together. Last night the impulsive prince had forced me into 800 different positions, and I was still trembling all over. When I took the divorce agreement from Liam, my entire body was shaking. "Emily, I'm sorry," Liam said, noticing my uncontrollable tremors. "The young girl has followed me honestly. I have to give her a status." "I understand," I nodded, still trembling, especially my legs, which felt like they were about to give way. But I didn't let on. Instead, I focused intently on the contents of the divorce agreement. I had been married to Liam for 7 years. We had been childhood sweethearts, started dating in high school, and got married right after college. At our wedding, Liam cried like a baby, saying it was a blessing to marry me. But by the 3rd year of marriage, he had someone else outside. When I first discovered it, he panicked and begged me to forgive him. I did. So came the 2nd, 3rd, and countless other times. But he always insisted that, no matter what he did outside, I would always be his wife. Yet this time, he finally asked for a divorce because of a mistress. I had seen that girl before. She was barely 20, incredibly innocent. She loved to call Liam in the middle of the night, and every time she did, she cried. It broke Liam's heart to comfort her. Liam spent more and more time away from home. Today he suddenly came back, startling me. What if I ran into him? That would be so awkward. I had started seeing someone else a year ago. Liam didn't know. It wasn't that I intentionally hid it. It was just that he hadn't paid attention to me for so long. Or perhaps deep down, he didn't believe I would betray him. I heard him on the phone with a friend. "Emily, she can't live without me. No matter what I do outside, she'll still wait for me at home." At that moment I began to reflect on myself. Why could he? Why couldn't I? Why could he nonchalantly say, "It's normal for men to fool around outside"? And I couldn't. After much pain and reflection, I bravely stepped out of the shackles of marriage. The first person I cheated with was Henry, the prince of the Henry family. That night he was fighting in a bar. While I watched the spectacle as an onlooker, I casually remarked, "Young people really have a lot of energy." As a result, he caught me and said, "Auntie, I have even more energy in bed. Want to give it a try?" I looked at his handsome face, marred with scars but still attractive, with his well-defined chest muscles and perfectly rounded firm backside. I took a bold chance that night, but once I tried I couldn't shake him off. Henry's clinginess rivaled that of Liam's mistresses. At first he only wanted me in bed, but gradually he began to push for more. He insisted I give him a status. Like last night, this prince suddenly stormed into my house, in the middle of the night, demanding I make it official. I didn't agree and he kept me up all night. If he hadn't had to leave for a business trip this morning, he might have run into Liam. Liam's phone kept ringing. His mistress couldn't hold back and called several times. The volume was loud enough for me to hear. On the other end, she was crying and wailing. "Why is the divorce taking so long? Is it because the other party doesn't agree? You promised me even if you leave empty-handed, you'll divorce her. Are you lying to me?" When I heard "leave empty-handed," my eyes lit up. Liam whispered to her, "Soon, just wait at home for me. I'll buy you those little duck necks you like later. 1 hour at most, 1 hour. You must come back, okay?" Liam hung up the phone. "Emily, if everything is fine, just sign," Liam urged me honestly. The divorce agreement was mostly fine. Liam offered me half of his assets, which showed he was quite sincere. I could accept that, but thinking about my current status and the years of humiliation I endured, I couldn't pass up an opportunity like this. If I let a scumbag take advantage of me, I'd be unlucky for 8 lifetimes. So at that moment I pretended to be distressed and said, "Liam." Back when Liam Group was on the brink of bankruptcy, due to mismanagement, I accompanied you to social events, drinking until I bled from my stomach, to secure sponsorship and funding. Emily, that's all in the past. If the feelings are gone, they're gone. You can keep my body, but you can't keep my heart. Why bother? Liam advised. I believe I should have a share in Liam Group. I stated directly. Liam was taken aback. He probably didn't expect that I wanted Liam Group. Not him. I want 50% of the original shares of Liam Group. Not cash equivalent. What do you want shares for? Liam asked in surprise. To keep a connection, I replied casually. Liam hesitated. To him, the shares were naturally more important. He wanted absolute control of the group. If he gave me 50%, he wouldn't be the largest shareholder anymore. Okay, Liam agreed without hesitation. He probably thought that even if I had shares, I wouldn't really participate in the company's decision making. I want the cash equivalent too. I continued to make demands. Emily, don't get too greedy. Liam clearly didn't want to. It's all I have left. I looked at Liam. And you with your great love. Liam looked at my bloodshot eyes and trembling body, and reluctantly said, fine. I'll give it to you, but Emily, don't come bothering me anymore. Liam quickly had his lawyer draft a new divorce agreement, and I signed it without hesitation. I got into his car and went to the Civil Affairs Bureau. The moment I opened the passenger door, I saw a large sign stuck on it, reserved for this princess. Everyone else stay away. It was obviously not my doing. Liam noticed it too and explained. The young girl likes to make a scene. It's fine, I'll sit in the back. I said the ride was quiet. Liam suddenly asked, why aren't you talking? I was looking at the WeChat messages from Henry. He had just landed and was bombarding me with texts. Safely landed, missed you. Do you miss me? Every second away from you is torture. When I get back, will you make it official? What does that lousy cucumber Liam have that I don't? He's not as handsome, not as rich, not as young, and he doesn't have my stamina. The car fell silent again. Liam couldn't help but say, don't you have anything to say to me then? I wish you and her a long-lasting relationship. I replied. I said after the divorce, if you have any difficulties, you can come to me. After all, we were married. I'm not that unreasonable. Liam repeated impatiently. Okay, I nodded in agreement. The car fell silent again. Liam couldn't help but say, don't you have anything to say to me then? I wish you and her a long-lasting relationship. I replied, no need to pretend in front of me. Liam said generously, no pretense here. Bitch and dog forever together. Liam suddenly said kindly, Emily, you should go out and see the world more. Your life is too narrow, don't you realize? You don't have many friends with you like this. Can you find someone else after our divorce? I laughed softly. Now that we're divorced, you don't need to worry about my affairs. I'm worried about you being alone, with no one to take care of you. I've been alone all these years. Haven't I? I retorted coldly. Liam understood my sarcasm. He paused. What I mean is I have many friends. Do you want me to introduce you? Sure, I replied generously. Liam looked a bit stunned, then said, okay. If I find someone good, I'll introduce you. After we arrived at the Civil Affairs Bureau, we quickly registered for the divorce. Liam originally said he would drive me home, but he couldn't resist the urging of his mistress, and left in a hurry. I looked up at the blue sky and white clouds above me, finally understanding what it meant to feel like I was reborn. Over 20 years of emotions truly vanished in that instant. I didn't tell Henry that I had registered for the divorce. With Liam, I can't say why. Maybe it's because I never planned to give Henry a status. We were just playing around. I wouldn't make the same mistake again. But Liam's mistress was clearly anxious. 5 days after we registered for the divorce, she posted on her social media to declare her ownership. When we added each other on WeChat, it was the canary who initiated it. I initially refused, but couldn't withstand her persistence. One day I accidentally accepted her friend request. Her post read, growing old with Liam, meeting one person for a lifetime. The accompanying photo showed her holding hands, with Liam, both wearing matching rings. Coincidentally, it was the day of a mutual friend's birthday, and we both attended. Liam brought his mistress along. Before I arrived, I overheard a group laughing in the private room. When are you two having a wedding feast? Did Emily really agree to the divorce? I remember she was madly in love with you, right? She used to revolve around you her whole life. How did you convince Emily not to cling to you? Liam hadn't spoken yet. I answered openly. The property division is fair. When the group saw me enter, they felt a bit awkward. The birthday friend quickly tried to smooth things over, inviting everyone to the table. I was relaxed, but the mistress kept glancing at me, her eyes full of provocation. Finally unable to hold back, she stood up and said, Emily, Liam suffered a lot to get a divorce from you, but I don't care about that. I just hope you won't bother Liam anymore. Let me take the first drink. After saying that, she downed a glass of wine. I ignored her. The mistress seemed unhappy. Emily, you and Liam are divorced now. Do you still have feelings for him? Enough, Liam called to the canary. These matters should be discussed privately. No, I want her to promise in front of everyone that she won't disturb us anymore. The canary pouted. I want you completely to myself. Her voice was soft and sweet. Liam was clearly fond of this. He said, Emily, just give Grace a promise so she can feel at ease. I shot a glance at Liam. I had almost forgotten, but suddenly remembered how he once drunkenly knelt and said he would love me forever, saying that if I wanted the stars, he would pick them for me. This scene was truly jarring. I smiled faintly. Don't worry, I don't take out the trash. Liam's face, which had been smiling, suddenly fell cold. The canary didn't look much better either. I continued, let me correct you. Liam didn't suffer heavy losses from divorcing me. Everything I got was what I deserved. Also, half of what Liam spent on you came for me. The fact that I didn't ask you to pay it back is my mercy. You should be grateful instead of pushing your luck. You. The canary turned red with embarrassment from my words. Liam, trying to defend her, said, Emily, even if you're upset about the divorce, there's no need to embarrass the young lady. I'm not upset. I stated firmly, word by word. Stop being stubborn. I know you've never been able to accept that. I don't love you anymore. Suddenly, the door was pushed open. A familiar voice rang out. Sorry I'm late, seeing Henry. In that moment I was a bit surprised. Didn't he say this business trip would take about 10 days? It's only been a few. Everyone's attention was immediately drawn to his arrival. The host was particularly enthusiastic. Henry, it's such an honor to have you here. Please take the main seat. As he spoke, he prepared to have Henry sit at the head of the table. Everyone else showed Henry respect too. In this circle, Henry was from a higher tier of wealthy heirs than them, so naturally they wanted to curry favor. No need for formalities, I'll just sit here. Henry walked straight over to my side. I didn't even dare look at him directly, afraid he might do something inappropriate. Of course, the host said quickly, motioning the server to add a seat. I instinctively shifted to the side, but Henry grabbed my chair firmly. I glanced back at him, only to see a smug grin on his face, and before I knew it, his restless foot had already slid between my legs. I tensed up, squeezing my thighs together. Instead of pulling away, Henry only moved closer. Henry, let me offer you a toast. Liam suddenly approached. My heart raced. It felt like I was caught in some affair. Even though it's been a year, I still can't handle these situations with ease. But Liam could. Luckily, we're already in the divorce cooling off period. I gradually started to relax. Henry glanced at Liam. I don't drink. I apologize for my boldness. Liam remained unfazed. Then let Henry drink water and I'll drink wine. I've been on a plane all day. I just want to eat something quietly right now. Henry replied, not giving Liam any face. No matter how thick-skinned Liam was, he couldn't hide his discomfort. Forcing a smile, Liam said, sorry to disturb your meal, Henry. I'll penalize myself with a drink. Please enjoy with that. Liam walked away. Others who had planned to toast Henry hesitated. After seeing his attitude, the host, noticing the tension, quickly tried to lighten the mood. Soon, everyone returned to drinking and the party resumed. The canary, however, couldn't hold back anymore. Emily, earlier I drank with you, but you still haven't given me a proper answer. I was speechless. Dealing with Henry was already exhausting enough. Now that Henry's here, let's have him be our witness. The canary said with determination, clearly intending to get a clear resolution for me. No matter what kind of witness? Henry asked, intrigued. Meanwhile, His foot beneath the table still refused to behave. I noticed Henry's expression darkening. The more she spoke, the canary continued passionately. With so many friends here today. And Henry too. I just want Emily to make a promise. That she won't bother Liam again. After all, we've paid the price. She can't keep acting shamelessly. I almost laughed out loud. How could she say the words? Acting shamelessly with a straight face. Just as I was about to speak, Henry beat me to it if I'm not mistaken. Weren't you the mistress? Henry said coldly. The canary froze for a moment. Her face turning red. Emily and Liam are already divorced. I'm now Liam's legitimate fiancé. He's already proposed to me. She even raised her hand to show off her ring. Even though they've only registered for divorce. And haven't officially gotten the certificate yet. But even if they were divorced. You seduced a married man. Henry sneered. What? You feel proud of yourself for being a mistress. The one who's not loved is the real third party. The canary retorted self-righteously. Liam and I are truly in love. He hasn't loved Emily for a long time. She's the third wheel in our relationship. Did you miss out on 9 years of compulsory education? Henry smirked. Has no one taught you what shame is? You had the option to be a decent person. But instead you chose to be the dog that eats shit. Not only are you disgraceful, but you're also shameless. She was the legitimate wife. And you're just the sneaky mistress. The worst part is, you're not even good at being a mistress. I was dumbfounded listening from the side. Could it be that in the process, you're also insulting yourself? The canary's eyes welled up with tears. And she stammered, how could you say that to me? If you want to be a mistress, then at least have the self-awareness of one. Henry showed no mercy if someone insults you. You listen if someone tears you down in public. You endure it, and in the eyes of the law, you should bow your head even lower. Look at yourself now, making a scene in broad daylight. Acting like a clown. Aren't you just stripping down for everyone to see? Oh, I almost forgot. Stripping is exactly what mistresses do best. Henry said, as if directing his final words at himself. This man was so savage. He even insulted himself in the process. I stared wide-eyed in complete shock. The canary was reduced to tears after being scolded. Liam's face turned green. But he held back his anger out of respect for Henry. Seeing that Liam wasn't defending her, the canary cried even more pitifully. Liam, they're all bullying me. I don't want to live anymore. All I did was love you. What did I do wrong to deserve such humiliation? Liam couldn't hold back any longer. Henry, my personal affairs are none of your concern. Don't you think? Wasn't she the one who asked me to be a witness? Henry replied nonchalantly. I was just stating the facts. And you're both falling apart. How can you flaunt being a mistress if you don't even have the mental fortitude for this? And besides, who said this is only your personal matter? Henry was cut off mid-sentence. I suddenly let out a cry. Everyone turned to look at me in surprise. I bit my tongue by accident. I quickly made up an excuse. Of course, to stop Henry from saying anything more. I'll just head to the restroom. I stood up and laughed. I knew Henry would follow. And sure enough, he did. I had just entered the restroom and hadn't even locked the door when Henry squeezed in. In the next moment, I was pinned against the wall, unable to move. Open your mouth. Let me see. Henry lowered his head, his warm breath brushing against my face. I could feel the intensity of his heat. Even through my clothes, I shook my head fiercely. Be good, don't make me use less civilized methods. Henry's lips were so close to mine. What are you trying to do, mm? I trembled. I thought he was going to kiss me. But to my surprise, he took my hand and slid it inside his shirt, guiding it lower. Henry never forced me, but he always knew how to get me to comply. It was only this past year that I truly understood why Liam found his happiness. Wildflowers, indeed, have a sweeter scent than the ones at home. Why didn't you tell me? You and Liam had registered for divorce. Henry's voice was hoarse as he nibbled on my ear. Is that why you came back early? Were you planning to surprise me? Henry's eyes lit up, completely ignoring anything I said. Not really. I just didn't want to deal with the responsibility. Why did you stop me from speaking earlier? Henry clearly saw through my lie. Didn't you say mistresses should have self-respect? I panted slightly. Your current status isn't exactly in T. E light. So when are you going to make me legitimate? Henry's voice rose suggestively. Dripping with seduction, I couldn't help myself. I wrapped my arms around his neck and kissed him. Henry, of course, couldn't handle that, immediately forgetting all about the legitimate talk. Of course, we didn't actually do anything in the restroom. But when I walked out, my lip was bitten and swollen. Thanks to Henry, to my surprise, I ran into Liam in the hallway outside, who seemed to be waiting for me on purpose. Emily, have you had enough? Liam asked coldly. I laughed angrily. Liam, do you even know who's causing trouble tonight? Why are you making such a big deal with a young girl? She's much younger than you. Do you really need to stoop to her level? Liam questioned me. I don't need to, I nodded. Then go apologize to Grace. I muttered under my breath. Why should I bother with a chicken? I haven't said a word tonight, Emily. That's too much. Liam's face darkened instantly. You're only making me hate you more. Does it matter whether you hate me or not? I asked, somewhat perplexed. We're divorced, why would I care how he feels? Stop being stubborn, I know how you really feel about me. If you apologize to Grace tonight, I'll agree to divorce but not separate households. I was stunned. I couldn't believe what I had just heard. How could Liam say something so shameless? No wonder people say birds of a feather flock together. Liam and Grace really were a perfect match. Don't get too happy. I won't give Grace anything that I won't give you. Even if I don't have feelings for you, I'll still take responsibility, Liam said with a righteous tone. I was speechless for a long time. It was the first time I realized that, after knowing Liam for over 20 years, I didn't know him at all. Liam, what makes you think I'd stop being your wife just to become your mistress? How much do you think I hate myself? I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. I have to give Grace a proper title, so you'll have to make some sacrifices. Liam insisted. Why would I sacrifice anything, Emily? No one, to stop, to be precise. Why would I have to revolve around you, Liam? If I can't be your wife, I should be your mistress. Are you a gold coin that I can't live without? Or are you saying all the other men in the world have died off? I was trying to handle things amicably, mostly for the sake of the assets, without wanting to make a scene with Liam. But some people just have no sense of boundaries. Liam was so angry that his face turned red. Emily, you better not regret what you've said today. No regrets, I said. Without hesitation, I added. And don't forget, in 25 days, we're going to the civil affairs office to get the divorce certificate. I won't forget if it kills me. Just don't try to pull any tricks. Liam gritted his teeth. Fine. I threw that last word over my shoulder. As I walked away after just a few steps, I saw Grace rushing toward Liam in a panic. The moment I saw them, I exploded. Emily, you're alone with Liam. What did you two do? Why is your lip busted? Did Liam bite you? I pressed my lips together and remembered how Henry had just bitten me. I was starting to get annoyed. He did it on purpose. It's like he wanted everyone to think I had someone else. On the side, frustrated, I spat out, a dog bit me. You're calling Liam a dog? Grace looked like she was about to faint from anger. Liam quickly defended himself. It wasn't me. I never touched Emily. She bit her own lip to frame me. After all these years, I'm completely sick of her. He then shouted at me, Emily, you were talking all tough earlier, and now you're trying to mess with me and Grace. Don't you think your behavior is despicable? I couldn't contain my anger anymore, and was about to snap, when Henry casually strolled out of the bathroom. Liam, how can you have such a huge ego? You think you're the only dog around. Henry walked up to me, lifted my chin and right in front of Liam, and Grace bit down on my lips. At that moment, my suspended heart finally gave up. After the deep kiss, Liam and Grace stood there frozen like statues. Henry pulled me into his arms and said, see clearly now, I'm the one who bit her. You proud dog. I saw the disbelief in Liam's eyes turn to anger. And then was that acceptance. He asked, Emily, is this true? If you're not blind, isn't it obvious? At this point, I could only admit it. Hearing me say that, Henry couldn't stop the smile creeping up his face. If he had a tail, I bet it'd be wagging right now. Emily, you. Liam started to speak but swallowed his words. It was probably too much for him to process all at once. I didn't feel the need to explain further. He's been through enough to understand. I grabbed Henry and walked away. As I was leaving, I suddenly looked back at Grace. Grace noticed my gaze and straightened up immediately. For a second I felt a strange sense of guilt. We were both mistresses. But how could Grace be so self-righteous, while Henry had to be so restrained? Come to think of it, Henry really was a dignified side piece. What are you looking at me for? Grace snapped when I didn't say anything. Being young may be something you can be proud of. But Liam isn't, I said with a chuckle. After all, he's just something I got bored of. And now you're the one infatuated with that. I walked out with Henry, not looking back. This time behind me, I could hear Grace's shrill voice. What's Emily so arrogant about? She's just an aging woman who can't even keep her own man. What right does she have to act high and mighty? Liam, you have to stand up for me. You can't let me suffer like this. I've been nothing but faithful to you. I don't deserve this faithful. How ironic. Henry and I didn't go back to the birthday party. We just got in a car and left. On the ride, Henry asked cautiously, "Are you mad?" No. I knew Henry only acted to stick up for me. Besides, it's done. So there's no point in denying it. Would making it up to you with my body work? He asked, sounding pitiful. I was clearly preoccupied. My mind somewhere else. I wasn't mad at him. I was just wondering how I could avoid being responsible for him. I turned to look at his handsome face. And then my eyes traveled down to his exposed chest. When did he unbutton his shirt like that? I had the words no on the tip of my tongue, but I just couldn't say them. Men really slowed down my decision-making. In the end, I couldn't resist, and ended up going to a hotel with him. The next day, my body aching, I came home only to find Liam there. The man who hadn't come home in forever was now sitting in the living room. Where were you last night? Liam asked, as if he had the right to demand an answer. I ignored him and headed straight for the bedroom. Emily, no matter what you do, you're not going to change my mind. Don't get your hopes up, Liam coldly reminded me. So even now Liam thinks I still care about him. That I stopped, let out a small laugh and asked, "So why are you here today?" Liam, full of self-righteousness, said, "We're still married after all. I don't want to see you ruin yourself. You've lived a sheltered life, so you're easily fooled by men. Trust me, Henry's just playing with you, and nothing will ever come of it." I stared straight at Liam and said, "And yet things are going well with you and Grace, aren't they? Can you even compare yourself to Grace?" Liam said heatedly, "She's young, beautiful and pure, but you're almost 30, you've been married, and no man wants second-hand goods. Especially not Henry, the heir of his family, is even 5 years younger than you. You're just setting yourself up for humiliation. So in your mind, no man would ever want me. But you still want to divorce me and ruin my life." I scoffed. "I've told you, we can get divorced but still live together. We wouldn't be a couple. But I can take care of you for the rest of your life. Just don't let yourself fall this slow." Liam sounded so generous. "I'll forgive you for what happened with Henry, but don't let it happen again." I was completely disgusted. I said, "Liam, who are you to forgive me? You've been tangled up with Grace and countless other women like her. So what right do you have to hold me accountable? I'm second-hand goods, then what about you, trash? I'm a man. Can a man and a woman be the same?" Liam fumed. "Looks like it wasn't just Grace who slipped through the cracks of the education system. You too. Don't preach to me, Emily. At the end of the day, that's just how society works from birth. Men and women aren't equal in status. So what if you've received higher education? Wasn't it just so you could marry better?" I had to admit for a moment I was at a loss for words. Maybe it's because every word I exchanged with him felt like an insult. I began to re-examine him and myself. Was I blind back then? Or can people really change this much to become so utterly revolting? Liam continued, "I won't say more, Emily. When the world finally knocks some sense into you, you'll realize the wisdom in listening to your elders." With that, Liam left. As he walked out, he threw in one last reminder. "Don't forget the date to get our divorce certificate." That I took a deep breath. Liam almost made me throw up with anger. Where on earth did he get the confidence? Did being a man make him this proud? At least I've finally seen the truth. And soon I'll be completely done with him. The day we went to get our divorce, I arrived early at the civil affairs office. Liam didn't delay either. We quickly got our divorce papers. That meant 50% of Liam's shares. And a lump sum of cash went straight into my account. Finally I could breathe easy. It wasn't that I feared Liam wouldn't divorce me. I was just worried he'd hesitate to give me so much. And I wasn't about to waste more time dragging things out with him. Emily, have you thought it through? Liam suddenly asked as we left the office. What? I was confused. Divorce. But not separation. I let out a laugh. Liam continued. The condition is that you stop getting involved with other men. Liam, where do you get the nerve to think that? After treating me like this, I would shamelessly stay by your side like before. What makes you think I'd still be hung up on you? Just because you've got a rotten cucumber between your legs. Watch your mouth. Liam was furious. Respect is mutual. Have you ever respected me? Besides, why should I speak nicely to a lowly, disgusting, filthy jerk like you? That would be punishing myself. Honestly, I felt a rush of satisfaction at that moment. After enduring so much, I could finally express my anger without holding back. Liam stared at me in disbelief, shocked that I'd insult him so bluntly. I said, Liam, you once asked what good my higher education did me. Now I can finally answer you. With that education, I can filter out trash like you from my life. I can also minimize my losses when I'm hurt. And most importantly, I can help you understand that women are never just men's accessories. You clearly haven't been knocked down by the real world. Yet Liam sneered. Well then, see you around. I walked away confidently, not caring about the angry glare burning into my back. All I felt was a sense of freedom and exhilaration, like I'd never known before, reaching its peak in that very moment after the divorce. With half of Liam's shares in hand, I joined his company. Getting into Liam's family business wasn't hard. Back when his family's company faced a crisis, Liam and I had been married for only 2 years. I'd invested everything my parents left me to save his family business. I went with him everywhere seeking investors. And after that crisis, the board appointed Liam as chairman, taking over his father's position. At the same time, Liam repaid me double the money I had invested in his company. I bowed out gracefully because Liam said, Emily, I don't want you to work too hard. I can take care of the family. And I can take care of you, right? Few can count on a man. Pigs can fly, still live and learn. When I joined the management of Liam's family business, Liam was naturally against it. But since he was no longer the majority shareholder, he didn't have absolute power anymore. Plus, over the past couple of years, Liam had spent so much time on women that the board was growing increasingly dissatisfied with how he neglected the company. Now giving up shares for a woman had shattered the shareholders' trust in him. Letting me into the company was, in a way, a lesson from the board to Liam. And all of this was part of my plan. Even Grace forbidding Liam from coming to the office because of me was something I'd expected. Grace's youth may be her advantage, but her ignorance will come at a cost. The board's growing frustration with Liam's absence was mirrored by their growing confidence in me. 6 months passed like this. One evening, after approving the final proposal for the day, I saw someone waiting for me at the office entrance. It had been a long time since I'd seen Henry. My secretary was a bit nervous, since Mr. Henry is the eldest son of the Henry Group, and we have a partnership with his family. We didn't dare stop him. He also asked us not to disturb you. I nodded. Let him in. I knew this day would come. I couldn't just expect to send him a text saying, we're breaking up, block him, and then confess everything to his parents, and think that would be the end of it. Henry may be emotional, but he's not easily bullied. After all, the title of heir wasn't given to him for nothing. Did you miss me? Henry asked. His eyes reddened. I couldn't meet his gaze. I was afraid that if I looked into his eyes, he might strangle me on the spot. I lowered my head and replied, if I said no, would you be angry? Yes, he answered honestly. Sorry. Am I just a tool for you to get back at your ex-husband? I shook my head and replied seriously, more like a tool in bed. Henry stared at me. I figured he must be fuming and would storm out any second, maybe even slap me on his way out. But the next moment I heard him say, Then why not keep using it? I'm very useful. Oh, you're useful all right. But I'm afraid I might get addicted. A tinge of guilt welled up inside me. I've seen how Henry is in front of others. And he's never looked this pitiful before. Emily, let's get married. Henry suddenly proposed. I was shocked. What are you thinking? Not only have I never considered getting married again, but do you think your family would agree? They've already agreed. I was dumbfounded. Wait, how could Henry's family possibly accept a divorced woman like me when I went to see his parents back then? They didn't even spare me a kind glance. I know you've lost faith in marriage because of a scumbag, but I'm young. I'll definitely outlive you and I can wait. Well, thanks for outliving me. Henry looked at me with determination in his eyes. We'll get married whenever you're ready. And if you never want to, I'll stay by your side forever. Oh boy. Love-struck fools are bound for misery. I was so scared that I bolted. Henry didn't chase after me, but he called out loudly from behind, Emily, you're the one for me in this life. When I got home, I hadn't even calmed down yet when I ran into Liam. Seriously, was today cursed or something? Nothing seemed to go right. Emily, I want to talk. Liam said, looking exhausted. Talk about what? Can I come in? No, Liam said. And said, I'm tired. You're tired and you come to me. Shouldn't you ask Grace to give you a full body massage? You know what I mean, Liam said, serious. Yeah, of course I did. The past 6 months hadn't been smooth sailing for him. And Grace apparently. They never even officially got married. Grace's possessiveness over Liam was almost psychotic. She'd even get jealous. If Liam's secretary gave him a work report, she'd check his phone daily, terrified he'd look at another woman. If Liam so much as liked a photo in some woman's social feed, Grace would track her down and call her a shameless homewrecker. At first, Liam tried to be patient and reason with her, but over time, Grace's behavior seriously disrupted his life, and he grew fed up. His frustration only triggered Grace's paranoia, further making her believe he didn't love her anymore. She even threatened to kill herself. And one time, when Liam came home late from a business dinner, Grace actually cut her wrists, although she didn't die. It scared the hell out of Liam and alarmed her family. Her family started giving Liam a hard time, accusing him of mistreating their pure, innocent daughter by being divorced. They told him if he didn't treat her well, they wouldn't let him off the hook. Every day, Liam lived in fear of Grace throwing another fit, or her family causing trouble. He was practically a nervous wreck. Of course he was tired. But wasn't this the mess he'd made for himself? Wasn't it his obsession with young, lively girls that got him into this? Let's get remarried, Liam said, taking a deep breath like he'd finally made up his mind. So today was a good day for marriage, huh? I'll clean things up with Grace. I won't let her bring any trouble into our marriage. Liam, you're really shameless. I interrupted him. Liam's expression stiffened. You must have heard the rumors that the board plans to dismiss you at tomorrow's meeting, right? I called him out directly. Liam didn't deny it, he just said, that's got nothing to do with this. I really want to start over with you. You think I'd believe that? Even though we got divorced, I never married Grace, because I wanted to keep our connection, whether you believe it or not. After the divorce, I realized that the person I truly loved was always you. That I don't believe it. I was blunt. I admit that divorcing you was a mistake. I was confused. Grace followed me as an innocent girl, and as a man, I felt I owed her an explanation. Liam, I really didn't want to listen to his nonsense. Who isn't innocent was my first time given to a dog. Liam was speechless. Stop pretending I don't believe a word you say. Not even the punctuation marks. I turned to leave. Liam grabbed my arm. Emily, just admit I was wrong before. I've been regretting it ever since the day we divorced. I still don't understand how we ended up like this. You understand perfectly well, I said, cutting to the chase. You know exactly how low the cost of your mistakes is. You think I tolerated all the women you messed around with, so I'll tolerate getting back together after a divorce. Do you believe that? Yes, NC, my parents passed away in an accident. You're all I have left, so you gave me money, gave me shares, thinking you could take them back whenever you wanted. And Grace really gave you a different kind of joy. You played around with the young girl, kept playing when it was fun, and tossed her aside when it wasn't, but now you suddenly realize that both sides are slipping out of your control. You're panicking, scared, and you're desperate to turn things back to how they were. But Liam, don't be so full of yourself. You're not so amazing that the whole world of women revolves around you. Liam wanted to argue. I cut him off again. Don't go on about women's chastity. It's been 75 years since the founding of New China. Male chauvinism is just a self-righteous excuse for men to fool themselves. But you didn't end up with Henry, did you? Liam shouted. I heard that you were the one who went to his family and cut ties with him, so that means I can't forget you. That I love you. I laughed, speechless. Isn't that the case? Isn't it possible? I said that I knew Henry and I had no future, so I didn't want to waste both of our time. After all, I spent my best years feeding a dog. Can't I at least learn from that mistake? Liam stared at me, speechless, and I wasn't interested in him either. Just as I was about to walk away again, a familiar voice came from behind me. I knew it. You didn't cut me off so suddenly, 'cause you didn't love me. You were just afraid my family wouldn't approve. I turned to see Henry. What are you doing here? I missed you after you left, so I came to see you, Henry said honestly, staring straight at me. Didn't you miss me? Anyone could understand the suggestiveness behind the word miss. But Henry didn't wait for an answer. Walking right up to me and without a second's hesitation, kissed me. Really? You don't see the other person standing right there? Henry kissed me for a long time, then turned to Liam and said, how much longer are you going to stand there? Don't you have any decency? If you keep watching, what happens next will be a crime. Liam, his eyes red, gritted his teeth and left the moment he was gone. Henry couldn't hold back any longer. I pushed away his advances. Henry the First didn't agree to get back together with you, Emily. What I said about your family was just an excuse to reject a scumbag. These past 6 months I've nearly gone crazy. Henry pulled my hand into his pocket. It needs you to comfort it. Clearly you didn't listen to a word I said. But honestly, I didn't resist for long either. Who said it wasn't hard for me these past 6 months? By unanimous decision of the board, I gained absolute control of Liam's company, and in the process, sidelined every member of the Liam family. After the board meeting ended, Liam came to my office. He said, Emily, give me another chance. You're just wasting both our time. Do you know how much it hurt seeing you and Henry together last night? I don't know, and it's none of my business. I couldn't sleep all night. I looked at him. Should I give you a leave of absence so you can go home and rest? Emily, I really regret it. I've realized who I truly love. Don't humiliate yourself, I said clearly. Liam pursed his lips. Here's the leave form. I placed it in front of him. Fill in however long you want and hand it to HR. Liam stared at me. He looked at me with a gaze so unfamiliar, like I once looked at him. So unfamiliar I even wondered if he was possessed. Liam stumbled out of my office. But even after that, Liam kept coming back, begging for forgiveness, and wanting to get back together. I couldn't take his harassment anymore, so I had the board remove him from his position in the company, leaving him with only his dividends. I also instructed security not to let him into the company building. Finally, things quieted down. Not long after, I heard Liam had been sent to prison. The reason: he accidentally killed Grace. Grace couldn't accept Liam breaking up with her. During a heated argument, Liam lost control and grabbed the fruit knife from the coffee table, ending Grace's life before his execution. Liam requested to see me one last time. I went. The Liam sitting in front of me no longer had the glamour he once did. He was defeated, hollow, like a walking corpse. He said, Emily, I don't regret killing Grace. If it weren't for her, we wouldn't have ended up like this. She deserved to die. Liam, are you still fooling yourself? I looked at him with amusement. The real culprit between us has always been you. Divorce was inevitable if you hadn't brought it up. I would have. Why? Liam's eyes reddened as he looked at me. Emily, didn't you love me? Weren't I always the one you loved most since childhood? Do you think it's appropriate to talk about love now? Tears welled up in Liam's eyes as he looked at me, silent for a long time, seemingly calmer. He asked, Emily, when did you stop loving me? Was it after you got together with Henry? No, I answered plainly. It was the moment I lost the baby in my belly. That we had a child. Liam was shocked. When I found out about your first affair. Why didn't you tell me? Why do you think? But you forgave me, didn't you? You clearly forgave me back then. Liam couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe. That was the moment I stopped loving him. If you hadn't forgiven me, why didn't you divorce me then? Because I had to weigh the costs. I wasn't going to let you walk away scot-free. I admitted no. You're lying to me. If you had stopped loving me then, you wouldn't have waited so many years to cheat. You must be lying, right? Liam couldn't accept it. Couldn't accept that his pride in juggling many women had ended with the collapse of his own home. I calmly told him, Liam, the reason I didn't bring up divorce back then is because I knew very well that, even if I divorced you, I wouldn't be able to jump into another relationship right away. To me, not getting divorced wasn't delaying my life. Besides, if I had asked for a divorce at that time, would you have agreed back then? You were just chasing after something new, without any real feelings involved. Even if I'd kicked up a fuss and you agreed, I wouldn't have gotten the assets I wanted. With just a bit of manipulation on your part, I'd have lost out. So during our marriage, I collected evidence of your affairs, checked up on your assets, transferred the wealth I could, and even laid the groundwork for my future. It wasn't until this year that I got everything in order. And why didn't I cheat until last year? Because I'm not like you. I don't have the nerve to be so shameless. It took me a long time to build up the mental strength to take such a disgraceful step. It wasn't revenge on you, just a simple physical need. I looked at Liam at the pain he couldn't hide. He said, so this year, even if I hadn't brought up divorce, you would have, right? Yes, and when we discussed the divorce agreement, you already had a clear understanding of the asset division. So when you knew I was serious about it, you raised the stakes, didn't you? Yes, that day when we talked about divorce, your red eyes and trembling weren't from sadness, but from happiness. No. I said. Liam's eyes shifted slightly. That was because Henry kept me up all night. Emily, I'm about to die. Why can't you lie to me just a little? Why not? Liam broke down, devastated and desperate, because Liam, you're not worth it. Tears streamed down Liam's face uncontrollably. The last time he cried like that was at our wedding. As expected, life comes full circle. I left clean and decisive at the prison gates. Henry was waiting for me. It was only later that I found out. The reason Henry's family agreed to our relationship was because ever since he got together with me, he stopped living recklessly and devoted himself to making money to support a wife. The reason his family was once rude to me wasn't because they looked down on my background, but because they didn't think I was worth Henry's efforts. They also only agreed to let me send Henry abroad because they had their own plan in mind. They had always wanted to send Henry overseas to gain experience, but Henry stubbornly refused to go. So they took the opportunity to have Henry open up the European market. As long as he succeeded, they'd let him stay with me. Poor Henry, he was kept in the dark, blissfully unaware. I looked helplessly at the large bouquet of bright red roses in Henry's hands. This guy really didn't miss a beat proposing to me. Even outside a prison, what can I say? Maybe I should give it a try. After all, when I cheated, I had the same mindset, just give it a shot. And the experience was a 10 out of 10. What if marriage turns out the same way anyway? I have nothing to lose. Because marriage has never been a shackle for women. And women have never been mere appendages to men. No matter what kind of life a woman wants to live, it's never too late to make a change.